call the June 6th Planning and Zoning Commission for the City of Casa Grande to order. Please join me for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'm trying, I don't have the voice.
All righty, so, everyone's here except Mr. Estrada, who's called, his whole family has the flu. So,
I'd like to make a motion that
Thank you.
we excuse Member Estrada.
thank you. And a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Michelle, can you show everyone present and Andy excused? Thank you. Any changes to the agenda?
No changes, Mr. Chair.
Very good. Thank you. Commissioners, we have the minutes before us.
I'd like to make a motion
Thank you.
to approve the minutes for May 2nd, 2024.
Second.
Oh,
I have a motion and seconds. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Next up is our consent agenda. On the consent agenda, all of the items marked with asterisks are considered routine, will be enacted with one motion, one roll call vote of the commission. There won't be any separate discussion of these items unless a commission member or a member of the public would like to have it discussed, would like to have it presented. And it'll be then removed from the consent agenda and considered in a normal sequence of the agenda. Commissioners, any of these items you'd like to pull? Hearing none. And anybody from the public, that's all of those with E in front of them. If there's something that you'd like to hear, please let us know. Okay? Seeing none? Commissioners,
Chairman, I'll make a motion.
thank you.
I move to approve the consent items E1 through E3A and forward a recommendation to City Council on consent item E3B.
Second.
Good. And I got a second. Roll call?
Member Aldrete,
Aye.
Member Vanderhayden,
Yes?
Member Hubbard,
Yes.
Member Peters,
Aye.
Vice Chair Garza.
Aye.
Chairman Benedict.
Yes. Okay, now we're at the public comments portion of the meeting. If anybody from the public would like to address the commission regarding matters that are not on the agenda, the commission, and we can't respond directly, but we can direct staff and find out to follow up what's appropriate. Please keep your comments to 3 minutes. And anybody would like, from the public, like to address the commission? Seeing none, I'll close the public comment portion of the meeting. We'll get to new business. Wow. First on the agenda, hold a public hearing, consider a request from Scott McDonald on 5 acres of land at 1411 North Grant Avenue, a conditional use permit, DSA 24-00028, and a major site plan, DSA 24-00029. Sam?
Thank you and good evening. Am I being heard okay?
Yep.
Excellent. So we're here to hold a public hearing and consider the following request by Scott McDonald on a site for plus or minus 5.1 acres of land, generally located at 1411 North Grant Avenue. The first part of this is a conditional use permit to allow for the operation of a concrete batch plant. And the second part is going to be a major site plan to allow for the operation of a concrete batch plant. Project overview, TWC Grant Avenue is proposing a concrete batch plant. This site is fully fenced. The production operation will consist of a decumulative 327D portable concrete plant, 2 sand and rock piles, a modular office space, a laydown tank, 2 vertical 10,000-gallon tanks, a motor control center, a generator, and 2 portable Connex box structures. The site location is there with the red box, is along Grant Avenue. Here is the zoning. The darker purple you see there is I-2 zoning. The lighter purple is I-1. And down in that southwest corner is going to be the nearest residential to this space. For the conditional use permit, a conditional use permit and associated resolution is required for any I-2 use which has significant emission of noise, vibration, smoke, dust, or other particular matter, toxic or noxious materials, odors, glare, or heat. And due to the nature of concrete batch processing, staff has determined that a concrete batch plant will require a conditional use permit. Here are the criteria in which we judge or review a conditional use permit by. We are going to focus on number 3. Staff found that 1, 2, 4, and 5 are met, and criterion 3 is going to require some minor site modifications to comply. Criteria 3 is that the proposed use will have no adverse effect upon the abutting property. That the proposed use will have no adverse effect upon the abutting property. The site is located in I-2 General Industrial Zone District. As stated in the city code, the purpose of this zone district is to provide for the development of industries which, because of the nature of their operation, appearance, traffic generation, or emission would not be compatible with land uses in other zoning districts, but which nevertheless are necessary and desirable. This zone district provides an appropriate area for the intended use. As we saw, there was I-2 to the north and the south, and I-1 districts east and west, and it's quite a distance to the nearest residential area. But even then, to ensure that the use will have no adverse effect on abutting properties, there's a chain link fence on the west and north side of this project, and we are going to require that those fences be modified so that they are opaque and can screen the operations there. Here's our site plan. You can see in the site plan that the operation of the concrete batch machine, along with the piles of materials, are there in the central area of the site, also to reduce the effect on abutting properties. There on the east side is Grant Avenue, which will be their entrance and where their parking is located. And then along that east side is going to be their office buildings, A and B there on the north and the south. Moving into our major site plan review criteria, there they are listed there. Today we're going to focus on conformance to city zoning and the screening requirement. So here I have a chart of the requirements for the I-2 zoning, as well as the proposed values that are with this project. So interior, side, and rear, you can see that that north and south interior side border, they are right at that 15 feet that they're allowed. And then there's 365 feet from the rear to the office buildings. There is not a corner side with this property. Again, that residential zone is a significant distance away. The building height, they're allowed 60 feet. They're coming in right at about 26 feet, 6 inches. Minimum lot width is 100 feet. They've got 400. And I did put on here that the concrete operation, as I mentioned earlier, is centrally located along that, on that project site. And then I give the approximate distances to the property borders. So 58 feet to the north, 228 feet to the east, where the access road is and the parking lot, 163 feet to the south, and about 150 feet to the west. Screening. Exterior storage and materials are required to be screened from view from adjacent properties and rights of way. This site has an existing 6-foot chain link fencing along the north and the west property boundaries. This is the chain link fence that we're going to require to be modified to be opaque and screen. Along the south boundary, there is an existing 8-foot sheet metal panel fence along the, like I said, the south boundary, and I've added a diagram there to kind of give an idea of what that looks like. I wasn't sure when I was doing this project, so I thought I'd put that up there just in case anybody else had the thoughts like I did. And then along the east boundary, there is an existing 8-foot CMU block wall. As far as public notification, we notified dispatch, mailed out mailers, and a sign was required and posted with this application. Staff has not received any inquiries or comments about this proposal. So at this time, staff recommends that the commission approve the conditional use permit and associated resolution, DSA 24-00028, with the modify any non-opaque fence so that it provides an opaque screening surface. And we also, staff recommends the commission approve the major site plan to allow for the operation of a concrete batch plant with the following technical revisions. Their site plan currently has sidewalks along Grant Avenue. We're asking that those be removed. They're not required to provide sidewalks along that street frontage. We would like them to provide a bioswale with the Grant Avenue landscape setback to assist in retaining the half-street flows. Said bioswale will be illustrated on the final landscape plan, and then provide a detail that illustrates the material to be applied to the existing chain link fencing along the north-south, well, this should be the north and the west property boundaries to achieve the required screening. At this time, are there any questions?
Very good. Commissioners, any questions for staff? All right. Okay, would the applicant or their representative like to come forward and address the commission? Please give us your name and address for the record.
Good evening, I am Chuck Wright with Pinal Design Group in Casa Grande at 708 North Sackatone Street, Suite F4. And this is representative from Core Ready Mix.
My name is John Deering. You need my address as well?
Please.
8713 East Sheridan Street, Scottsdale, Arizona.
Thanks so much.
So as you see, we have presented a conditional use and a major site plan for a concrete batch plant. And we're ready for questions.
Okay, very good. Any questions for them? So we're okay with the requirements to make it opaque, and I think that was the things that were added. You saw the things that were added, so we're, all right, very good. All right. All right, thank you so much.
Okay.
Now I'd like to open the public portion of the meeting for this particular item. Anybody from the public like to address this issue, please come forward. Seeing none, I'll close the public portion and bring it back to the commission.
Chair, I'd like to make a motion.
Thank you.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the conditional use permit and associated resolution of the following condition of modify any non-opaque fence so that it provides an opaque screening surface.
Very good. I got a motion
Second?
and a second. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Member Aldret?
Aye.
Member Vanderhayden?
Yes?
Member Hubbard?
Yes.
Member Peters?
Aye.
Vice Chair Garza?
Aye.
Chairman Benedict?
Yes. All right, and we have now the site plan.
Chair, I'd like to make a motion.
Thank you.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the major site plan DSA-24-00029 to allow for the operation of concrete batch plant with the following technical revisions.
Okay. as listed. Very good. Do I
Sec-
have a second?
I second.
Thank you. All right, got a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion?
One second. Just to be clear, Sam, South is not supposed to be in number 3?
Correct.
Okay. So I just wanted, if you see condition number 3, South, I think is a typo, so it should just say north and west property boundaries.
Okay.
So I just want to make sure that's the motion before we
Thank
vote on
you.
it.
Yep,
Okay.
You accept that adjustment to your motion?
I accept that adjustment.
Do you accept that to your second? Very good. Okay, with amended conditions, revisions, we good? Very good. Please call the roll.
Member Aldret?
Aye.
Member Vanderhayden?
Yes.
Member Hubbard?
Yes.
Member Peters?
Aye.
Vice Chair Garza?
Aye.
And Chairman Benedict.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, next, we'll have a public hearing, consider a recommendation to the city council for a request by Mackenzie Craig, for a rezone from urban ranch to B2 general business on 18 acres at Hacienda near Florence Boulevard, DSA 24-00046. And Jim?
Good evening, Chairman, members of the Planning Commission. So this request in front of you is for a zone change of property currently zoned urban ranch. And the proposal is to change the property to a B2 zone district. And as you see on the screen, it lies roughly between Florence Boulevard to the north and Early Road to the south on the east side of Hacienda Road. The existing urban ranch zone is considered a very low residential zoning. It allows single-family residential development on lots no smaller than 1.25 acres. The urban ranch zoning also allows agricultural operations, horse stables, and cell towers up to 28 feet in height. With the consideration of a conditional use permit, urban ranch properties are also allowed to propose churches, schools, essential public facilities, and wireless telecommunication facilities greater than 28 feet in height. The proposed B2 zoning, which is known as general business, clearly allows a much broader array of permitted uses, as you see outlined on the screen here. Of course, development within the B2 would also be subject to the consideration of a major site plan. So what's driving this zoning request is the applicant would like to potentially develop this property as an RV storage site. Should the zone change be successful and it recommended for council consideration, should council approve the zoning, the next step for the applicant would be to present a major site plan for the RV storage facility, and it would be back in front of Planning Commission. But regardless of what is constructed or what is proposed in the B2 zone, it would ordinarily be subject to the following development standards. Development within the B2 zone district is limited to a maximum height of 35 feet. There's a front building setback for structures of 35 feet. It would have a minimum side and rear setback of 45. In this instance, it's 45 because it's a budding residential property. If it happened to be a budding non-single-family residential property, it would be 15 feet. And there's also a minimum landscape frontage of 15, so along Hacienda Road, there'd be at least a 15-foot landscape area. When considering zone changes, the primary thing that we look at is compatibility and whether that B2 zoning makes sense with regard to what is surrounding the site. And I just wanted to walk through the surrounding properties and what their current and proposed land uses are. To the south are two planned single-family residential neighborhoods. They both have certificates of assured water supply, so it is possible that both Hacienda Highlands, directly to the south, and to the southeast, Springwater Point, can develop into a single-family residential community, respectively. And surrounding the site to the north, directly to the north and to the east, is other urban ranch zone land. That property does not have certificates of assured water supply, neither does the subject property. And so what that means is that these parcels that do not have certificates of assured water supply cannot split into more than 5 parcels. So it's fairly limited in terms of what their development options are. And of course, a little bit further north, you have the Hacienda Storage Planned Area Development Zone District, and at the hard corner, the southeast corner of Florence and Hacienda is another B2 zone property. The area with the most sensitivity, because it's developed land, is the Mission Royale PAD, which is on the west side of Hacienda Road. As you're probably aware, that is a active adult community for homeowners that are age 55 and up on the north side of Early, and on the south side of Early is the family community portion of Mission Royale. But when looking at all of the existing and potential single-family homes that surround this site, there's over 3,300 home sites. 2,300 are developed lots within Mission Royale, and then a future 1,000 plus home sites in the Hacienda and Springwater Point neighborhood. So there is some reason for looking at ways to maybe bolster compatibility with B2 zoning next to the existing and future single-family areas. However, on the other side of the coin, that's all the more reason why a little pocket of B2 may be appropriate to serve 3,300 home sites and to offer a variety of land use if it's developed in a way that is compatible. With Hacienda Road being an arterial roadway, it is intended to have an ultimate width of 110 feet. Currently, Hacienda exists as a 55-foot wide road because it was dedicated and partial improvements were made flanking the Mission Royale neighborhood. Of course, as there's development on the east side of Hacienda, we'll see an additional 55 feet worth of right-of-way dedication and matching roadway improvements. So ultimately, Hacienda will be 2 travel lanes in each direction with a center median and sidewalks on both sides. At the time of development of the subject property, and there's a major site plan review, is when we would look at traffic matters to see what the specific proposed use's traffic generation is, and that would end up resulting in what types of improvements would be needed to the roadway network in order to recommend support of the particular use reflected in the major site plan. And that's also the time we look at other matters such as drainage, utilities, etc. However, at this time, there are some recommended conditions to bolster the compatibility between the residential use and the proposed commercial. It's kind of hard to see on this map, but even though Hacienda Highlands is to the south, there is an 85-foot wide canal easement. Also, within the PAD itself, there's a 35-foot landscape easement south of that canal, and there's a 25-foot wide strip of land north of the canal that serves as an access road for the parcel that is to the east of the subject property. So point being, there's about a 145-foot separation between this property and the future Hacienda Highlands development. So we're not really concerned about ways to bolster compatibility because as this site develops, there's specific site plan criteria such as screening walls, etc., that will help offer some compatibility measures where we don't have to add any new particularly special conditions. However, there is some sensitivity remaining to the Mission Royale neighborhood, although there is going to ultimately be 110 feet of right-of-way, and there's a landscape tract between the backs of the homes within the Mission Royale neighborhood and Hacienda Road. We are still suggesting some modifications to the development standards, which would be conditions of record. So that first condition is our standard condition that would obligate the property owner to dedicate right-of-way ahead of when it would ordinarily be sought. Ordinarily, we would get it at the time of building permit, but this condition would enable the city to get the dedication sooner if we were doing a roadway project for Hacienda. But the second and third conditions are more specific for compatibility. Structures over 28 feet in height shall have a minimum setback of 50 feet. Ordinarily, it would be 35. So there's an additional 15 feet of setback that they would have to meet if the structure is going to be taller than 28 feet in height. And then there's also a recommended condition dealing with signage, because the signage for whatever B2 use is placed on the property, it's going to be within view of that single-family neighborhood on the other side of the street. So we're recommending monument-style signage, which would be limited to 10 feet in height, and any attached signage has to meet specific standards with regard to its illumination and where it can be placed on the building elevation. When reviewing zone changes, it requires conformance with the general plan. This site sits within the neighborhoods general plan land use category. Neighborhoods is generally intended to be a residential residential land use. It accommodates single-family residential, but it also supports commercial sites so long as they do not exceed 30 acres in size. As an 18-acre site, this does comply with the neighborhoods category. The action is consistent with the general plan, including goals, policies, and applicable elements. One of the goals is that spatial form and design of development in the neighborhoods areas be transit-friendly and appropriate to adjoining land uses. And an action step that helps meet that goal is to design neighborhoods so that housing, jobs, retail, and community services are close by to provide opportunities for residents to lead a healthy lifestyle. So B2 zoning can provide future retail and community service uses amid the 3,000 plus home sites in the area. Even though what's driving this zone change is to develop as RV storage, this could still be regarded as a convenient location for that, minimizing travel time for surrounding potential customers. Another goal is to minimize land use conflicts, and the action step is requiring physical separation, and that's what those recommended conditions are designed to achieve, or intended to achieve. And that's why we're recommending that 50-foot setback for structures greater than 28 feet. The proposed use shall be considered in conformance with the general plan, also by looking at its land use elements, and guiding principle number 8 and 9 speak to that. Guiding principle number 8 talks about linking land use decisions to known available water resources. Since the site does not have certificate of assured water supply, B2 could be seen as an appropriate zone district because it doesn't automatically necessitate the parceling of property as would if it were zoned, let's say, R1, which is a single-family residential neighborhood where lots could be as small as 7,000. It would be impractical there because that site couldn't be split more than 5 times. Guiding Principle 9 talks about managing growth to ensure that essential infrastructure is available concurrent with new development. Since the site sits along existing roadway that's designed to be a minor arterial road, It does have adequate roadway infrastructure, at least to access the site, and of course, further improvements will be made at the time we review the major site plan. And also, a rezoning conforms to the general plan if it proposes land use densities or intensities within the range of identified uses of the general plan. I already mentioned that the site can't exceed 30 acres. It's 18 acres meeting the criteria. Another factor to look at is no more than 12% of land within a half-mile shall be used or designated as commercial use within the neighborhood's land use area. So when looking at a half-mile radius surrounding the site, there are 3 commercially used or designated properties that fall within that half-mile within the neighborhood's land use category. Totaling all these acreages, including this proposed site, there is a total of 38 acres of land used or designated for commercial, and that represents 7.6% of land within a half-mile, where 12% is the limit. So it does fall within that criteria. Lastly, the proposed zone change is considered necessary and proper at this time. And as I mentioned on a previous slide, since there are so many planned and existing home sites surrounding this location, B2 is appropriate to exist to serve all of those rooftops. Regarding the public notification process, we met that which is required by city code. We did send out an application in review during the zone change review. We did coordinate some with a representative of the HOA to discuss some potential measures to help bolster compatibility, and the applicant was okay with the recommended conditions. There is, we also received an inquiry from one of the homeowners nearby, but they didn't have any specific comments. Staff does recommend that Planning Commission forward to City Council a recommendation to approve this zone change from Urban Ranch to B2 with the conditions of record that I discussed, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
All righty, thank you. Commissioners, any questions for staff?
I have one.
Yes, please.
Jim, that notch at the northwest corner of the property, would that be the substation out there, the existing substation?
Yes,
Okay,
it's under a separate ownership.
it is. Okay, so it's not leased by this owner then?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
That's the ED2.
Right, it would
Substation.
remain Urban Ranch.
Sure. Oh,
Yeah,
and ED2 had no comment?
no, they did not provide comment.
We contacted them. 'Cause that's- All right, very good.
The notch, right?
To clarify for everyone, it's that little slice of property that sits in between the Hacienda Storage PAD and the subject property, that little slice of green, or piece of green. The rectangle there. Yeah,
Yep.
Yeah, not a bad idea to have that blocked from the residential.
Yeah,
Thanks, too.
yeah, we'll make a buffer for it.
Absolutely.
On both sides?
Any other questions for staff?
No.
Okay, would the applicant or their representative like to come forward and address the commission? Okay. Seeing none, I'll open the public portion of the meeting. Anybody from the public like to address this issue, please come up.
Good evening.
Hi.
I'm Katie Halverson, 116 South Birdie Way, Casa Grande.
Thank you.
I'm the president of the Mission Royale Adult Village Homeowners Association.
Great.
And we fully support, first of all, let me explain, I address the concerns of the association, not individual homeowners. If individual homeowners have concerns, they'll bring them forward, but these are us as an association. We support the development. Anything we can do to stop the dirt from running across the road during the monsoons, we're all for. It's less cleanup for us. I think the conditions are reasonable. I think right now we're talking about RV storage potential, but it is potential, and we don't know what goes there. So rather than address it during site plan development, we'd rather address it now, and we think the conditions are reasonable. Now, Rick, you brought up that little notch. And that does cause me some concerns as a resident of Casa Grande. You approved the Hacienda Storage PAD, and they're going to widen the road to 110 feet. I'm assuming when this subject property is approved, they also are going to widen the road to 110 feet, which means we have a chunk in the middle of Hacienda that nobody's going to develop. ED2 is there now. So I would ask that the Planning Commission, as you continue to look at Hacienda and development, consider how we can get that piece of Hacienda widened to 110 feet so we don't have a notch in our road. Thank you.
That's a challenge. Good observation. Thank you. Anybody else like to address this issue? Very good. Seeing none, I'll close the public portion of the meeting, bring it back to the commission.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion.
Thank you so much.
A motion that we forward a recommendation to the City Council for a request by Mackenzie Craig for a rezone from UR to B2 for the 18 acres of land located on the east side of Hacienda. And it would be covered under DSA-24-0046 and include the conditions of record as illustrated by staff.
Very good. I've got a motion.
I'll second.
Thank you. Got a second? Just to be sure, be very clear for our attorney friend, DSA 24-00046. 3 zeros. You missed one.
Okay.
I probably added an extra one, so I probably didn't help any. But just try to be helpful.
Okay.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Member Aldred?
Aye.
Member Vanderhayden?
Yes.
Member Hubbard?
Yes.
Member Peters?
Aye.
Vice Chair Garza?
Aye.
Chairman Benedict?
Yes. Okay, next on the agenda, we'll consider a request from West States for revising major site plan for 120 unit multifamily development on 10 acres in G Diamond planned area development at, on Colorado DSA 24-00070. Jacqueline?
All right, good evening, Commission. So I just want to give a quick little overview of this project to date. The proposed development was last in front of the Commission in December of last year, which the Commission denied. The applicant did file an administrative review of the denial to City Council. City Council heard that request at the February 5th City Council meeting, where it was also denied. Subsequent to that denial, the applicant did file a lawsuit against the city. However, that process is currently suspended to allow for the processing of this revised major site plan. So going over the overview of the project itself, again, this request is a major site plan located on approximately 10.2 acres in the G Diamond Parcel H near the southeast corner of Courtson in Colorado. Per the G Diamond PAD, the site is zoned for medium density residential with a maximum density of 12 DUs per acre and 2 stories in height of 28 feet. The site has been zoned for multifamily since 2003. There was a 2007 PAD amendment which changed the acreage and added restrictions related to the height. The project is still for 120-unit, two-story multifamily development with a proposed density of 11.76 dwelling units per acre and the proposed height at 23 feet 10 inches. The proposed revised major site plan reconfigures the buildings on the south end of the site to push them further north by relocating an access lane and parking, creating an additional buffer. And 4 of the 5 southernmost buildings have been reoriented and do not have balconies facing south. The image on the right shows the original site plan, and the site plan on the bottom shows the reconfiguration as well. Looking at the major site plan review criteria, this is laid out in the zoning ordinance. Staff report goes into additional detail on all these. However, tonight I will be covering the highlighted items here, as these were the main concerns from the adjacent neighborhood and property owners. With regards to conformance to the city's general plan, as part of the neighborhood land use category, there are general development standards that address compatibility. I would have highlighted number 1. New development shall be designed to minimize adverse impacts upon surrounding existing land uses. And number 4, the use-to-use compatibility between single-family residential, multifamily residential, and non-residential developments shall be achieved through the use of increased building setbacks, landscape buffers, building height limits, and building step backs. Staff finds the revised site plan does a good job at meeting these standards. Looking at compatibility and landscaping, the table here shows the PUD requirements in the middle and the major site plan setbacks on the right. This is, just for clarification, these are from the parcel boundary. And, as noted earlier, 4 of the 5 buildings along the southern boundary have been reconfigured. Access drive and parking have been relocated to create additional buffer and address the bulk and scale of development along the southern boundary. Again, to the west, Colorado acts as a buffer here. There's approximately 100 feet between parcel boundaries. And then along the southern boundary, they range from 135 feet to the west and 175 feet to the east. The additional landscape requirements along the southern boundary is also a condition of approval to have additional box red oak and hopseed bushes. And at maturity, these will be at 30 to 40 feet in height. Again, here are another images of the changes in the site plan as well. Here are the proposed elevations. These have not changed. They're 2-story, low-profile buildings that complement the community rec center as well. With regards to traffic, prior to the administrative review to council in February, an additional traffic analysis was completed that the Planning Commission did not get to hear in December. Those findings found that the intersection of Courtson and Colorado currently operate at adequate levels of service and will continue to do so with the additional traffic associated with this proposed development. The maximum queuing observed during the study period for eastbound Courtson Road and Peart Road was approximately 625 feet and included 25 vehicles. This occurred both in the AM and PM peak cycles and was cleared within 1 signal cycle. And that certain movements at Courtson Road and Peart Road intersection during peak hours currently operate at unacceptable levels of E and F, which the proposed development would make slightly worse. However, by adding a right turn lane for eastbound Courtson would bring all movements at the intersection to acceptable levels of service D or better. I also did want to note, prior to certificate of occupancy, a right turn lane shall be constructed by the applicant on eastbound Courtson, and that the applicant would be eligible for traffic impact fee offsets to reimburse them for any costs associated with the construction of right turn lanes beyond their fair share. And in addition, FY25 city budget does include funding for additional improvements at Courtson Road and Peart Road intersection. They include increasing the left turn bay on northbound Peart for vehicles traveling west on Courtson, and increasing the left turn bay on southbound Peart for, for vehicles traveling, that would be east on Peart, east on Courtson, that's a typo there. I did want to note that I did have an error in the staff report. The eastbound Courtson left turn bay is not part of FY25 budget. Public Works is looking at doing additional improvements to Courtson west of Peart in the future to address the scallop streets and wants to do that project all at once. Regarding stakeholder efforts, the applicant did mail out the revised site plan to residents within 500 feet, as well as the HOA in early May, I believe. And staff sent out public notices to residents, again, within 500 feet, as well as the HOA notify them of today's hearing. And site was posted with a sign as well as publication in the dispatch. Since the publication of the agenda and staff report, I have received 3 inquiries. I did receive 2 emails of support with proposed changes. One just wanted to ensure that the right turn lane is added, and I noted that that was a condition of approval. I did receive 1 letter of opposition regarding the traffic numbers and children's safety. So with that, staff moves to approve the major site plan request with the following conditions of approval. Happy to answer any questions the commission may have.
All righty, thank you. Commissioners, any questions for staff? No? Okay. Would the applicant or their representative like to come forward and address the commission?
These are going to be coming on and off. My name is Sean Lake, 1744 South Val Vista, Mesa, Arizona, here on behalf of the property owner and developer of the site, Lofts at G Diamond. This is something that you saw 6 months ago, and we've made changes and worked with staff. And I'll go through this presentation, but in that time, since you've seen it, as staff pointed out, and I appreciate working with Jacqueline, she does a great job every time on every project we've ever worked with her, and so we appreciate and express our support for her and all that she's done to help us. But we have gotten another traffic engineer to do another traffic analysis of this intersection. We've done updated studies of the first one and the second one. We've studied this, and I have here with me this evening Jamie Blakeman with Lokahi, who has done a significant amount of traffic engineering in her very young year. I would not say she's even close to my age, but we appreciate Jamie coming and being here to ask specific traffic questions that you might have relative to this site. So we'll get into that, get into my... There we go. As Jacqueline pointed out, this proposed project is consistent with the general plan and is consistent with the zoning that was approved on October 6th of 2003 and then subsequently amended on September 17th, 2007. And in that approval, it was approved to allow 122 units, 12 units to the acre, 2-story and high multifamily project on this property. So the zoning has been in place, and the land use of what is appropriate here has been in place for a while. And so we are asking the City of Casa Grande for approval of an administrative site plan to allow us to develop the private property consistent with the zoning that was approved in 2007. Actually, as you go into this, oops, that goes backwards. There we go. Jacqueline pointed out, comparing it to the previous site plan, well, we had another site plan prior to that at an earlier neighborhood meeting to just kind of show you the changes that have been made to address particularly that south side along that. So the previous plan that this commission saw in December, I believe it was, showed 5 buildings along the south side. And in working with staff subsequent to the council action, we have revised the plan to pull those buildings away to create that buffer. And Jacqueline pointed out the distance between those units range from 135, 40 feet to 175 to 250 feet away. So there's a substantial distance to the property line of the residents to the south. And you can see those changes in this comparison. So with the approval that was done in 2007, I wanted to walk through what was approved and how we are complying with the zoning or the legal right that was established on this property by the council. 122 units were approved to be built on here as a maximum. We have 120 units that we're proposing. Two-story was one of the restrictions that was put in. Again, we're proposing two-story. 28-foot height limit, we're proposing 23 feet. 20% open space, we're proposing 22%. Parking minimum stalls, a lot of people are concerned about parking when you have a project like this that will bleed off into the adjacent neighborhoods. So we have more than sufficient parking. We exceed the code and the requirements for this project. And then also traffic. We've had 2 traffic engineers do 2 traffic analysis, and then they've updated those analysis. And again, Jamie is here to address that. And Jamie and our previous traffic engineer has worked with the city's traffic engineer to make sure that this project complies with the city's transportation standards. And those traffic reports have been approved by the city. So the revised plan, we believe, does the following changes. It creates a larger buffer along that south side. It creates a bigger buffer and kind of shifts it to have parking. But we still maintain that open space and landscape along that south side that we talked about at the previous meeting with those oversized landscaping that's a condition of approval. So we still have that oversized landscaping along the south side positioned to address that. The buildings and balconies have been reoriented on the south side, and again, we enhance the landscaping as I pointed out. So we are 100% compliant with the zoning and the code and have our traffic analyses, multiple traffic analyses that have been submitted to the city, reviewed by the city's traffic engineer, and has been approved, and the acceptable level of service which is established by code is met with this project. Now, here's some traffic with the traffic analyses that were submitted to the city, evaluated not only the entrance of the project through Colorado, but also the intersection of Colorado and Courtson, which is off-site, but also, in addition, the arterial intersection of Courtson and Pert. And particular attention was had at the city council meeting with the Courtson and Peart intersection. We understand there's a concern, and so our traffic engineer actually went out and put cameras and recorded that, and they were able to analyze what that is. And so if there's specific questions related to that, but when working with the city staff, we decided to make improvements to that Courtson and Peart intersection. What we found is because there is no right turn lane, that in a best case scenario, when the city center facility was developed, you can see on the lower side, they would have liked to do some improvements to that intersection, but the property owner was not amenable at that time. And the city did not want, I presume, and I know you shouldn't presume, but the city didn't want to go condemn right of way. We have worked with that property owner, and they have agreed to work with us on acquisition of some right of way to allow this right turn lane to occur when this project is developed. And this developer would then install this right turn lane at Courtson and Peart, similar to this. Now, the exact dimensions obviously would be worked out with Monier and Jamie, our traffic engineer, on how the length and distance of how that would work. But this would make this intersection, which is currently operating at a level of service E, which fails and does not comply with the code currently, it would bring with this improvement that intersection level of service into conformance with an acceptable level of service that would be in conformance with the city code. So this property owner is agreeing voluntarily to go make improvements off-site and not adjacent, which is not common, to improve the regional traffic so that the level of service at this arterial intersection that is not adjacent to the site can go from a level of service E to a level of service that complies with the code. We think this is a big concession and something that will benefit not only the property owner who's developing this site, but also the neighbors who live in the area, as well as all the neighbors who travel along Courtson and Peart as well. So that will benefit the entire city. So in conclusion, this project is in conformance with the general plan. It is in compliance with the zoning ordinances and the rules that were established by the city. It is in conformance with the city's zoning ordinance, which is the rules that you must follow when you're developing property. It is in compliance with the city development standards. There have been changes to the site plan that we feel address neighborhood concerns that we've heard through this whole process. We have also made changes and added a condition that requires the improvement at Peart and Courtson, which we think is a major concession to improve the traffic in the area. Staff recognizes this and is recommending approval of the project. The traffic engineer reviewed and approved our traffic analysis, and we received the recommendations of approval by city staff. So we think this project meets and exceeds all the standards, is in conformance, and has made changes to try to address as best as they possibly could concerns of the neighborhood. So we would urge your support of this site plan with this application, and I'd be happy to answer any questions. And reserve time to speak after, typically after the neighbors as well.
Questions, commissioners? Nope.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, now we'll open the public portion of the meeting for this item. Anybody who'd like to address this, please come forward. Give us your name and address.
Hello.
Hi.
My name is Laura Dixon. I live at 1323 East Palo Verde Drive in G Diamond Ranch. And here we are once again to tell you that the neighborhood of G Diamond Ranch opposes the building of the loft apartment complex. For that matter, we oppose any apartment complex at the location. And there's many reasons why the neighbors oppose the project. It's got a negative impact on my property value. It's got privacy issues. 23 feet, tall trees, you still got a lot of building there. And of course, the traffic. Now, I'm going to let my neighbors discuss the other issues. I'd like to focus on the traffic. Engineers to the side. The developer is proposing to build a large project on a dead-end street. A dead-end street, Colorado. It empties out on a 2-lane road, Courtson. They're going to put a 120-unit apartment complex in there with 293 parking spaces, which means they're looking at, I don't know, 175, 200 cars coming and going onto Courtson every morning to go to work, every night to come home. It's unknown when Courtson is going to be widened to 4 lanes. It's unknown. Last meeting we had with the city council, the discussion there was that Colorado was probably 5 years out. 5 years out from development. That means, given the current infrastructure, the traffic burden has to go somewhere, and it's going to go right through my neighborhood. We currently have traffic problems. Engineering aside, they come for a short time, they set up cameras, they do a wonderful job of checking the traffic at a specific point in time for a specific day. We live it every day, every day. The traffic that's going to be coming down there is just, it's unacceptable. And let's look at the future traffic. We've got a 216-unit apartment complex called the Agave House that's currently under construction at Courtson and Treckle. It's nearing completion. And that project is going to add a lot of traffic coming down Courtson. I've still got a little bit more to say. Can I have a few more moments? Please.
I think at this point, let's be fair to the others. If you don't mind, let
Okay.
them speak, and we'll
And then
see how long we're going.
Okay.
Anybody else like to address this issue? Yeah,
Good evening, Council. John Lavin, 1332 East Prickly Pear Drive in G Diamond Ranch.
Thank you.
So I've been watching this whole project, or ordeal, as a lot of people would call it, blow up. Some of the things that I've noticed with the designs that they have proposed, right, we have a lot of pedestrian footfall, especially going to Dollar General. There is no sidewalks on Courtson at all. So there's a lot of that going on, people crossing the street illegally, people getting stopped. There's no sidewalks, no crosswalks, within any of their designs for that. No space for any bicycles. People are walking regularly on to Dollar General on regular basis. And also, traffic studies I've noticed don't take any pedestrian footfall traffic. People on bicycles, people walking. I don't see any type of studies on that in any of those traffic. It all takes vehicular traffic. Also, their right turn lane is pretty short. My Tundra is 20 feet long. You know, they got 75 feet or so of right turn lane. That's three to four vehicles. Then that right turn traffic starts going into the middle traffic. If somebody stops in that right lane and never turns until the light changes, traffic will start backing up. Let's see. What they should do is really extend that right turn lane all the way down to Colorado. Make that a full two-lane all the way down Courtson, like it is all the way from across G Diamond to Colorado, then goes to a single lane. And then add sidewalks and crosswalks. That would alleviate a lot of things that I've seen with this design that they're doing with the traffic. But also, it's also not the right place and the right time for this. You know, the original parcel was sold with deed restrictions that locked it down to a 55 and over townhouse community. There's nothing there. I've done a lot of research into that. I have some inquiries out to the recorder to find out what happened, because there's no documentation assigned with the termination of those deed restrictions that mention anything, that say that this is why we're terminating it, because it was a runs with the land. Any successor, anybody purchase it down the road, 100 years, those rules apply. How did they get terminated? I don't know. That's why I have an inquiry to the recorder on that to find out, do they have any documentation on it? Or did somebody just oversee it and overlook the last section of that where it says runs with the land? But I think, straight out, I think a community of 55 plus would be better for that location than a bunch of apartments. In my personal opinion. Keep with the original design. But that's all I am.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very good. Anybody else like to address this issue?
Hello, my name is Suzanne Brinton, and I live at Dove Place, which is we're right next to where this proposed plan is going to be. I've lost track of how many times I've come up here to oppose this with my neighbors. I believe the developer can change it in 1,000 ways, and no matter how he changes it or makes it better, it's still a terrible fit to the puzzle of our neighborhood. It's horrible. It's right beside our custom-built homes. It's going to look tacky and weird. It's just not something that you see normally in a town where there's beautiful custom-built homes. You don't normally see a low-budget type apartment building right smack beside it. Yes, we are hugely concerned about our property values. We put our life savings into these houses, so you can't blame us for that. I feel like the developers could care less. They don't live here. And we are also very concerned about the traffic. They're asking out-of-town people to come, professionals or whatever, but I feel like they should ask us, because the J Diamond and Dove Place people, we're the ones who experience it every single day, so we can tell you with 200 plus cars, it's going to be a nightmare. I've lived in this town for nearly 20 years, and in my experience, when there's an intersection that gets really, really, really super bad, it has to get bad enough that people actually start dying. And that's when things change. And I'd hate to see it get to that point where it's just so bad and there's too many close calls. Were they going to move the power and gas lines? Like, I just don't think it's going to be a simple fix. It's like they say, and it's not a through road. It's a very short road. So most people are going to go ahead and go into the neighborhood. I feel terrible for G Diamond people, the residents who are going to have to deal with the extra traffic. And that's all I have to say tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, appreciate it. Anyone else like to address this issue?
Hi, my name is Michelle Wilkie. I live at 1433 East Dove Place. My husband has sent a letter in opposition. He can't be here to address you because he's out of the state in military commitments. So, the main issues of his letter were traffic and safety. They have addressed, I appreciate the developer changing the parking lot and all that, that's great and dandy, but the traffic hasn't changed. The traffic mitigations that they had haven't changed. It's the same that it was proposed earlier in the year. The biggest concern that I have with the traffic is we live it every day. We know the numbers, and we saw the little display last time of what it would look like, and in an ideal world, that's what the traffic will look like. But our world is not that perfect world. In the last month, I've seen at least 3 accidents there in that intersection. One of them was a really bad one. So that's what we're worried about. They underestimated grossly the number of cars that are going to be coming out of the development at 60 cars during rush hour. That is really low for having 120 units in the economy today, where people are going to have 2 incomes to pay for that rent. That is going to be pricey. The main income of Casa Grande is not that high, so 2 people are going to have to work, and 2 people are going to have to get out of rush hour and go to work. So you're not going to have only 60 cars coming out of there. And even with 60 cars, it's going to be difficult to get out of there. Colorado is a one-way in and a one-way out, unless you go through their development. To me, the fact that they keep underplaying the number of cars that will come out of there, it just shows that they're not being genuine and honest about the amount of traffic impact that this development will have to our communities. To me, it shows that they go to any length to just get this thing pushed through and built. Okay, and that's a big concern for us. Crosswalks in Colorado for kids' safety to go to school, walking from the apartments, walking from our communities to go to Cactus, to go to the elementary school, it's going to be imperative. A traffic light right there is going to have to be imperative. In the end, Colorado needs to be extended, but that's years away and a lot of money to be spent. So right now, we're going to cause a nightmare in that community for us and for the other neighbors and for the other people around us trying to get their kids in and out to go to school. And that's just my biggest concern is traffic and safety. Profit should never be placed before safety. So that's all I have to say. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
My name is James Bergeron. I live at 1335 East Kingman Place in Diamond G Diamond. I'm going to approach this from a little bit different approach in the traffic. When you start putting in those right-hand lanes and those left-hand turns, making those intersections bog the way it is, I'm a retired fire chief from the state of Washington. Mistakes that were made there in residential high density, and they say it's medium density, but high density traffic, is that it slowed every fire truck and every ambulance by 5 to 7 minutes to get to their location. A cardiac arrest, after 10 minutes, you're dead. A fire increases in size every minute, 100%. And we're not thinking. We're bunching all these cars onto a 2-lane road and saying that 2 right-hand turn lanes are going to make a difference. Are you considering the snowbirds that come in? We have hundreds or thousands of them. Right now, it's kind of nice. We can drive on the roads a little bit. The school's on that road. It's only a 2-lane road. The buses can't get in and out of the driveways in the morning. They have to sit and wait, or they have to have somebody out there directing traffic. And it's going to back up everything else. But the biggest thing is life safety. It's not going to work. I've seen where it's not going to work. We've had to literally push cars out of the way with fire trucks in our location in order to get to the scene because of traffic. And that's all I can say. It's a safety issue, and we need to consider that because it's not being addressed. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else like to address this issue?
My name is Jeff Davis. I live at 1311 East Prickly Pear. You know, if it walks like a duck, it talks like a duck, it's still a turkey. This is the same turkey project that you turned down the last time, that the city council turned down when it was brought to them. The only thing I see different here is somebody filed a lawsuit against the city, so we're entertaining this again. I mean, in their letter, they state that they contacted neighbors and made substantial changes. I doubt they could find one neighbor in G Diamond Ranch or on the preserve that they contacted and is excited about or suggested any changes they made. They dreamed this up, okay? I'm asking you to consider the newspaper article today that said up until 2021, 68% of the approvals were for single-family homes. In 2023, only 34% were for single-family homes. This site is made for single-family homes, not apartments. G Diamond Ranch is single-family homes. There's a small piece, 10 acres here, that fits next to the preserve in G Diamond Ranch. I don't really know what you guys are thinking, that you even think apartments would go here. So I'm opposed to it. I don't think you could find anybody in G Diamond Ranch or in the preserve who's for this. I think you really need to stick with what you said before due to traffic and due to compatibility with the neighborhood, that this is still a turkey of a project. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else like to address this issue?
I'm David Crosby. I reside at 1434 East Dove Place. I was in attendance to the neighborhood meeting that they had at the rec center, also at both of the City and Zoning Planning Commission meetings and also the City Council meeting. At that first meeting, we expressed our concerns. Then we weren't thinking much about traffic because we were just shocked that we found out that these apartments were going to go in our backyard. And we were concerned with the privacy issues. We made some suggestions then at that time, and some of those reflect on what we see now. What has me a little bit worried is the company, Westgate, even after hearing our complaints several times, only made these major changes after it had been denied twice. And it's going to be what kind of, like, allowing that company to come into our neighborhood. How is the maintenance of the apartment complex going to be, given that only the major changes were made only after they're absolutely necessary to be made, after it was denied by both you and the city? So I'm just a little concerned about the complex going in, and those are, besides the issues that have already been addressed, I don't want to repeat myself. I will repeat what has been said about the traffic and the safety, of which I agree with. But also, I like what it says here on the front page of the agenda today, where it says, City of Casa Grande, Stronger, United. And when we left last two previous meetings, when we felt united with you, we felt stronger as a community and that we felt as we were heard. So I appreciate the opportunity I had to come before you today, and that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate it. Anybody else like to address this issue? Hang on, please. Please wait. Please wait.
Yeah, was
Please
someone
wait.
behind you?
Please wait. Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you for listening. And my name is Nancy Wood, 513 East Beckle Road, Casa Grande, Arizona. I do live reasonably close to this location and use the streets for Courtson and Pert and the surrounding community. I've spent a lot of time in the area and aware of a lot of the traffic problems. So I agree with everybody here with the traffic. And I have my main objection that I have with this property and how this has all been handled is that there was a site plan for this whole community with the section all between Courtson, Cottonwood, Pert, and Treckle. It was a G Diamond Ranch community plan kind of development with kind of a mixed use of the different kinds of single-family homes, some of these apartments, the rec center, different things that were kind of laid out and kind of designed that the city had an vision to put this together. And one of the things that was planned was that this location next to the rec center would be a 55.
Okay, we can't address the
I know you can't address
the
it,
age
but
limitation issue.
This is my view of this.
We can't.
Is that there was an agreement made,
Okay.
and there was a deed restriction placed on this that addressed that. And there were townhomes which would be less density than what this apartment complex is. And townhomes would have a different feel, less traffic, and would be more appropriate for the size and the location of it. It would be ideal for the rec center. It would be upscaled and fit with the single-family homes that are in the area. And the main thing is that it really hurts the community when there's an agreement made and it's not kept, which is what I have issues with. Even though this maybe developer, I don't know what took place, but it leaves a sour feeling. And they would probably get this passed real quick if they followed those original plans. So, and the traffic, I've been backed up, sitting in traffic west of Colorado, and we haven't even added all the new apartment complexes and everything with people moving in yet. And Courtson isn't going to handle all that traffic. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Anybody else like to address this issue? Okay, I'll take my prerogative. Would you allow her to go first, please? She's been waiting.
It'll only take me a second.
Thank
Before,
you, I
when I
appreciate
was
it.
talking about fire and EMS, they come off of McCarthy, and they will soon be coming off of Rodeo and Pinal. Those are the two fire stations and EMS organizations that protect G Diamond Ranch. And no matter what direction they come, they're going to be delayed. And it's going to be significant, and I'll guarantee you, people will die.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I think so. Anybody else? Okay.
All right. Just one last thing. I want to talk about the developer's proposed changes. You can swap around buildings. You can take off balconies. You can change parking areas. You can plant trees. You can propose though there will be a lot of hoops that will need to be jumped through before you get a 170-foot turn lane going in there. 170 foot is what? 2 school buses and a little car? And it's not going to help. Most of the traffic turns north going towards the freeway. And that's what backs everything up. Everything. Okay? The one thing the developer is failing to address is that underlying issue. There's a lack of existing roads that support the project. They're trying to build on a dead-end street. Dead-end street. The access off that is through my neighborhood. My neighborhood. So if you're stopping people from getting into my neighborhood, like the fire and the ambulance, it just doesn't work. I just really want you to think about what's going up there. Listen to us again. And thank you. Thank you. We've all said it. Just thank you, and please listen to us.
Thank you. Okay, I've taken, I've gone off of our rules and off of our cadence here.
I still had 1:25 when I left. I just want to ask you one question. Have you guys done any kind of sociological study to show who's filling all these apartments that you're approving in town? Do you know who's coming into those? Do you know where they're coming from? Do you know who's subsidizing them? Who's going to fill all these apartments? With a single-family home, you know who's buying the home. The bank is, and somebody's paying off the bank. So I would just hope you, as a planning group, would be looking at that thing too. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, since we've broken the cadence several times, my original request, please make it very short.
Yes, sir. Let me just address a couple of things. Who's going to live here? I lived in a multifamily project.
Okay.
My daughter lives in a multifamily project. All of us at some point have probably lived in a multifamily project. The traffic. The current intersection of Peart and Courtson is currently a level of service E. With this project and the improvements that we're proposing, it will make it better than it currently is today with this project. So what we are proposing is to make the traffic situation better than what it currently is today. And as far as the zoning goes, and this isn't the statement that this isn't appropriate for multifamily, this project was zoned and this property owner has relied upon that zoning 2007, so a long time. And they've relied upon that, and there's a set of rules that we all play by. When you come into a community and you own property and you develop, everybody has the same set of rules. And we all play by those same set of rules, and that's the zoning code. That's the development code. That's the zoning ordinance. And this property owner is only asking to be able to utilize their property consistent with what the city has told them, the city council, that they can do, not only with the specific zoning ordinance, but with the rules that have been established for everybody across the community. And so we would ask that you would support that and recommend approval, or approve this site plan. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Now, is this someone new? Okay, we've gone. Is it you? Several of you have spoken twice, and well, not everybody has, and so it's how much do I break the cadence? How much do I? Do we talk through this? Are you bringing us different information, different than we've already heard? Several in the public did get to speak.
One thing we don't want to do is a back and forth, so.
Yeah, let's
Just
move
either
on.
Thank you.
Close the public hearing or.
Thank you.
Allow her to come up.
Okay. Would you like to speak? Anybody else like to speak to this issue?
Thank you. Do I have to address myself again?
That'd be
Yes.
great.
Michelle Wilkie, 1433 East Dove Place.
Thank you. It helps our records.
Thank you. They said that they're going to bring this intersection to a better standard. Yeah, it was an E, now they're going to bring it to a D. It's still not great, but that doesn't account for the traffic that they're going to produce. That's going to bring it right back down to an E or even worse. It doesn't account for the amount of traffic that the new buildings that are already under construction are going to bring to that intersection. The biggest concern is not just Courtson and Pert, it's getting out of Colorado into Courtson. You're locking us into our community. How do we get out safely? And that is the main concern. I understand what they're trying to say. They're trying to sell it every way they want. But it doesn't work. It does not compute. 1 + 1 doesn't make 5. You know, it's just clear as can be. We are not able to get out of Colorado when we have an extra 120 cars coming out of there. We can barely get out of there when there's 10 cars there. That is all I have to say.
Thank you. Anybody else like to address the issue? All right, thank you. We do appreciate the input. So I'll close the public portion of the meeting and bring it back to the commission. Commissioners?
This is tough. I do have a question. So on Courtson, we're going to be doing from Courtson onto Pert, the left-hand turn lane? No. The left-hand turn lane with the city.
Northbound, left-hand.
Going northbound, yes, this project. When will this start? Not the one with the developer, but through the city. I know we were planning this.
Can I respond to this question?
Yes, please. Sorry.
Yes.
You're not the wrong person, sorry.
Yes, Public Work has started the process for lengthening the left turn lane for northbound and southbound on Pier. They will break the ground within 3 weeks and expected to complete the projects by the end of July so that it is completed before school starts.
Okay, and this left-hand turn lane going northbound on Pert, how much longer is it going to be than it is right now? I can see it, but I don't, like, how many cars will it fit?
Which one you are asking?
The left-hand turn lane going onto Pert.
The one on the screen, Munir.
Right.
Like how many, because right now I know
Right.
only maybe 5.
I don't have exact number, but you can see the picture right here.
No,
Right, so if you allow me, so couple of cars, you can see the first car and then second car in between there can be one more car added. So I think it will be around like say 25 to 30 car can be added within that
Okay.
length. Like I'm giving a perspective.
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering. Okay.
Okay, excuse, please. Please, thank you.
Now, if I can add, the city has revised the standard for the access management, and we ask for 250 feet for turn lane. That is the maximum we ask for any developer at any place. This will be probably more than 250 feet.
Okay. I was just trying to visualize it. Okay. So this will be started this next month. That's already going to be a fixture there to help out.
All right, so let me walk you through again.
Okay.
The city will develop northbound and southbound left turn lane, add westbound right turn lane on Courtson. So these 3 legs will be constructed within these 2 months. And then if developer is proposing right turn lane, next year we have a plan to develop the Courtson itself, the Scallop Road and left turn lane. Or we can add the left turn lane if we get the right of way. So it will take little time. Right of way for from the adjacent property.
Okay, and then, let me think about this for a second. So, the city is also going to be doing more turn lanes west of this development. I mean, west of Courtson, going like Treckle, is there going to be one there too?
Yes.
And then one on Pinal?
Yes,
So that should also help?
yes, citywide, and many more locations.
Right, but I'm
Yes.
just thinking about Courtson. We're
Sure.
talking about 3 left-hand turn lanes we're going to widen
Right,
between Pert and all the way to Pinal.
sure.
And those other 2 developments on, God, I don't mind my directions, on Courtson, when are those 2 are going to start? Are they all going to start in July or
No,
just?
all of them, it is our plan to be finished by this year, like the fiscal year '25. That means up to next year, July. But Courtson and Pier, as a high priority, we are starting.
Right, I knew that, but I just kind of wanted to
Right.
picture the others. So
Right.
everybody would see that we are trying to do things because we brought it to attention.
Right.
And we're trying to make sure, we have been bringing this to the attention. We want to make sure that everybody knows that we're trying to make advancements on this road.
All right,
That's what I'm trying to,
sure.
okay,
Thank you.
okay. I just wanted everybody to know that. That's, because we're all kind of concerned about this Colorado, which I am too, but I wanted to see, the bigger picture of everything.
Okay? Commissioner, anything?
I'd like to make a motion.
Okay?
I would like to make a motion to approve the major site plan request, DSA 240070, with the 2 conditions of approval. One is the landscaping, and the big one is the prior to certificate of occupancy, the eastbound turn lane.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Discussion on the motion?
Second.
We have a second. No more discussion? Okay. Let's call the roll.
Member Aldret?
Aye.
Member Vanderhayden?
Yes.
Member Hubbard?
I'm on the fence on this. I see everybody's concerns. I'm not scared of a lawsuit. I'm going to say yes.
Member Peters?
I was a no on this project the last time. I'm a firm believer in property owners having the right to develop their property the way they see fit. We as a commission have our guidelines, which we follow. We try to follow them. I myself have been out to this project at least 5 times. I know it well. And my main concern before was the traffic impact on the community. And as far as what I can see from the city changes and the developer changes, I'm very comfortable in approving this project. It's an aye.
Vice Chairman Garza?
Yeah, just to make the same statement, I commend the commission and the work that we did here, as our, volunteer group. We've shed some light on some issues within the city that I think they needed to take a closer look at, transportation-wise, that are a problem today. They needed to work on that. So I think we worked together and made, I think, a difference here. So I vote aye as well.
Chairman Benedict?
So great comments from my colleagues, and as frustrated as many of you are, her comment about how the things that you all had brought up, and we appreciate that because it helped us get some of those improvements. that Celeste has just been talking about. And so I think we've gained, I think we've moved ahead. We are always trying to balance the rights of property owners with the concerns and the impacts on the communities. That's what we do every time we meet. And I think we've come a long ways, and appreciate everybody's help in doing that. And I vote yes. Motion passes. Thank you.
Yeah, go home.
Reports from the director.
Oh, I thought I would help.
So we had a couple administrative approvals of some secondary driveways. You can see those noted. The board.
Hang on just a second, we can.
Sure. Let the room clear out there for us.
They're gonna go throw blows.
So a couple administrative approvals for secondary driveways.
Oh, my goodness.
Board of Adjustment did not have any decisions since your last meeting. There were, though, a number of council decisions. Map of dedication for some additional right-of-way for McCartney and Palomino, which will help with the, I think that's probably the Flats property, is that right, James? For those improvements that are going to be made on McCartney for that project. Also, there was a change to our subdivision code and our development standards regarding sidewalks on local streets. We didn't bring that to the commission, we went right to council on that, and that was an increase in the sidewalk width from 4 feet to 5 feet on our local streets. We already built 5-foot sidewalks on our collectors and even wider on our arterials, but we made that change to comply with both the Maricopa Area Council of Government, MAG standards, and ADA standards. So our public sidewalks would be a foot wider on our local streets now. Let's see. I did want to note under E that the council approved a development agreement for, that was the bungalows on Hennis, the build-to-rent project. They're building a traffic signal as a requirement of their approval on Via de Silo in Florence. And so this development agreement gives them traffic impact fee credits to reimburse them for any costs they incur above their fair share. I think in this case, their fair share was about 25%, so they're going to get reimbursed for about 3/4 of that. But that will be a new traffic signal at Via de Silo and Florence Boulevard. Lastly, CNG, council approved the town site PAD. That was on Early Road. And on Monday night, this isn't on your agenda, but on Monday night, council voted to deny the OLAS rezoning on a 5-2 vote, and also tabled the QT rezoning for further discussion and analysis about the diesel fueling stations, which I know Commission had some concerns about as well. So that's it for reports.
All righty. And you have development reports in front of you?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the building valuation reports and the land use applications, right? If you have any questions about those, I could, but it's just pretty standard. 48 new single-family homes, 53 build-to-rent, so build-to-rent. Most of our development for residential this year has been single-family, no apartments. A few build-to-rent, as some of those build-to-rent projects, like the one next to Walmart, continues to build.
Yep. So far, they look pretty.
Good job.
It does.
Do I hear a motion to adjourn? Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned.
Let's click it. Let's draw a straw.
You opposing?
Yeah, come on.